For Comedy Hype News, I'm Elena Williams. D.L. Hughley seems to have riled up his fan base by saying those who refuse to get vaccinated and still go out among the public are irresponsible and selfish. Hughley would also give listeners of the D.L. Hughley Show a history lesson when it came to the smallpox and polio vaccines. In a video posted to Instagram on Tuesday, July 27th, Hughley explains that in 1980, the World Health Organization declared that smallpox was eradicated, which made it the first human virus to have been eradicated solely through the use of vaccines. The first vaccine for smallpox was introduced in the late 1700s. DL's point was that for over 100 years, the world used the smallpox vaccine without the approval of the FDA, which didn't exist yet. DL would use this claim to discredit those who say the FDA also didn't approve the COVID vaccine. After explaining the history of the smallpox vaccine, Hughley went on to talk about polio.
In 1954, Jonas Salk came up with the polio vaccine. And in 1955, they started administering that vaccine to children. In 1954, Jonas Salk comes up with the polio vaccine, and it was very controversial. Very controversial. Matter of fact, Elvis Presley and the like had to get on and to try to convince people that it was necessary. By the time we got to 1979, polio in the United States of America stopped. We didn't have any more incidences of polio in America after 1979.
Hughley is well aware of how the Tuskegee experiments affected the Black community and would go on to use it as a reference for his argument. Hughley will also point out that the people who tell you not to take the vaccine are currently protected by the vaccine.
At the same time, around the same time they were giving polio vaccines, yes, they were doing the Tuskegee experiment. Those dualities exist and always have in America. I cannot explain that to you. I can tell you this. The people who are telling you that these vaccines don't work and it's bad and you don't know are protected by those vaccines. Right now, that we don't have a world full of polio and we don't have a world full of smallpox because those vaccines were effective and they work and took decades, sometimes centuries to start working. Right now, the very people telling you how detrimental those things are protected by the very vaccines.
Hughley's caption would also sum up his thoughts on those who spread misinformation about the vaccine. Where would we be if the polio and MMR vaccines were treated like COVID? We have become so accustomed to entertaining everyone's opinions that we scrutinize scholars and professionals in the same breath as experts from social media. We question the credibility and motives of real doctors, scientists, and experts in their fields based off of the ramblings of somebody's cousin that used to work at the CDC in the cafeteria. There is a reason why children are not crippled by polio anymore, because a vaccine made it so.
I am not telling you that not to do your research. I'm not telling you not to know. But when people say dumbass things like the FDA hasn't approved it, has for emergency use. And you know why? Because we had an emergency. An emergency right now where people were dying right now. Over 4 million and counting are dead as we speak. The FDA didn't even approve the smallpox vaccine. It didn't exist in 1906. They started using it in 1809. And it is the first virus ever to be eradicated in human history by a vaccine. You don't have to do anything. But I think that it's wrong, one, to spread misinformation, and two, to go out amongst people knowing you're unvaccinated. If you want to do what you want to do, stay home. Stop telling me it's your right. It's your right to smoke. You can't do it in public because it harms other people. You can text, but you can't text and drive because it harms other people. You don't get to do nothing. You don't get to say, I'm not going to take the vaccine and I'm going to go out amongst people and potentially damage them. You don't get to do that. That is irresponsible, inhumane, selfish, and cruel.
Many in the comments would have a problem with DL's post, claiming it seems like a departure from what Hughley stands for. So now you trust the government, one user would say. Hughley responded to that comment with, "You've already taken a vaccine to prevent mumps, measles, rubella, polio, and a host of other viruses. You already did. And if you have children, they will take the very same vaccines you did, unless you're going to homeschool them for 18 years. Now, if you remember in summer 2020, Hughley collapsed on stage in the middle of a comedy performance in Nashville, Tennessee. It was later revealed that Hughley caught coronavirus. Hughley was later treated and diagnosed with exhaustion and dehydration. Hughley's experience with the virus could have contributed to his feelings about the vaccine. All right, what do you guys think of Hughley's stance on the COVID vaccine? Let us know in the comments below. Stay up to date with the latest news in comedy by subscribing here to our YouTube channel. Follow Comedy Hype across all social media and look out for original content on our all-new streaming service at comedyhype.com. For Comedy Hype News, I am Elena Williams.